he's hitting the ball hard and he's not getting results. Feel like he's been a little aggressive at times, swinging at the first pitch. And I think his approach, game plan, that we're going out there and we're going to be aggressive, and he just hasn't got results. But we know the professional hitter he is. This is a guy that controls the strike zone better than anybody else. He's got power. He's got the ability to use the whole field. And he's an important player for us. So early on, maybe, a little bit of both, not getting results, hitting the ball hard, being a little too aggressive. But overall, I like where he's at.
What is that balance for him specifically when, the game plan might be aggressive and he's in a spot in the order now where he's meant to drive in runs, but he also has this element of his game that's elite at working deep counts and getting on base. Just for him in particular, how's that balance work?
Yeah, and I think the game will dictate, at times when he's going to be aggressive, when he needs to work on a bat. And also, like when there's traffic out there and they're giving you a pitch to hit, like we want to be aggressive, and more times than not, the results are going to be there. Yes, right now we're not getting those results and we're not going to overreact to it. As long as the process, our approach, the reasons behind it are good reasons. In this case, like he's one of the better decision makers we got here. So he's going to be fine.
Tony?
Do you have a clearer plan for McNeil the next few days?
Yes, so he's playing today. Should I say clear plan? There's so much. He's playing center field today, but then he's going to go back to the infield. I think today's the last day in Port St. Lucie, but then we have to wait because apparently there's some weather in Syracuse, so he might go to Binghamton. But he's scheduled to play back-to-back, I think, at second base after the off day. So
you had mentioned he might come here so you guys can check on him before he goes.
Maybe tomorrow, but then again, I don't know that Syracuse will be the place. I think he's going to be somewhere here in the Northeast, depending on the weather.
And Alvarez is just going to stay.
Yes, so he's in Binghamton. I think he's off today, and then scheduled to catch back-to-back now.
If he gets through that okay back-to-back, is he just need to do that once and he'll be good?
Yeah, I think we will have a conversation after he gets through those 2 days and see if he needs more at-bats. And if he feels like he's ready to go, then we have a decision here.
Howie?
Carlos, do you expect any playing time that Nimmo might get in center field to be the vast exception to what the rule is going to be for the next little while, or are you comfortable enough running him out there every so often?
Yeah, I'm comfortable, with him playing in center anytime we need him to, Also comfortable playing the other guys. And I think it's going to be matchup based. If I feel like I need to get another lefty in the lineup and, we put Winker in left and we put Brandon in center, we'll be fine. I think we saw it the other day when in the middle of a game, I pinch hit Winker and I moved Nimmo to center, like perfectly fine with him, not only playing late in games, but giving us starts and things like that. We will check on him every time, every day, to making sure that, because he's an everyday player. He plays every day, So, but as far as like making out a lineup, whether he plays center, playing left, like I'm comfortable with him playing everywhere.
And would you anticipate seeing Acuna in center field anytime soon?
We'll see. He's not in the lineup today, and he's going to spend a lot of time in there with Antoine. We also have Asokar here, can provide can give us a game or play there. But we are preparing Acuna for a potential start if we need him to. He's playing well, so he's earning opportunities here.
Dave?
Carlos, as good a player as Juan Soto is, he's in a very unique situation, contract, switching New York teams. He has attention on him like maybe no player we've seen in a long time. When he's not off to a start that maybe he would like, or the pressure on the outside is like, do you talk to him as a manager and see where he's at?
Not really.
No.
I mean, it's funny because here we are talking about not having the start that he would like, or we would like, or people would like, that he still got 830 OPS, and and he's still getting on base and giving you great at bats. And yes, here we are. Like, no, I just want him to be himself, go out there and have fun and play the game. So those are some of the conversations that I would have with him.
Well, yeah, but the attention is different with him, right, than you've ever seen a player on. Maybe but Judge has been with the same team.
Right.
He's just Soto's situation is just so unique that he's facing a pressure that not many players do.
Well, he was under a lot of pressure last year. You know, he was playing for the Yankees, going into his free agent year, and he handled it pretty well. So I think he's human, you know, and now playing, you know, this is home for him now, and you know, he's Juan Soto. He's fine.
Will?
Hey, Carlos. I know you said before that Siri would be out for a while. Do you have a firmer timeline on when that would maybe?
No, nothing. Yeah, I think it'll be probably 3 weeks, you know, and I'm sitting here putting a timetable like 3 weeks, but we really don't know. I mean, it's a fracture, and we just got to let it heal. So, but he'll be down a while.
And after, say, Tyrone Taylor being your best defender in center field right now, who would be like the second best defender for you out there?
I don't know about, you know, like if we need to prioritize that. Like I said, I just got done talking about Nemo and how comfortable we are with him in the outfield. So, you know, he's right there. Azokar's a pretty good defender. Acuna, you know. So I feel good with all of them there. So,
Manny?
I was just wondering if has Manaea had any re-imaging done on his oblique?
yeah, he had it last week. Show improvement. He's playing light catch. I think he's going every other day now to up to 60 feet. So we'll keep it that way for the next week or 10 days or so.
And also just on Montas.
75 feet now. Yeah, clear, feeling good, and now he's just going through the progression.
Gary?
Do you have any concerns about Canning today in terms of him being a full go coming off the illness?
No, no, he's normal. That's why we gave him the extra day. We, you know, sent him earlier. Came in yesterday, felt fine, played catch, went through his normal routine. So he's making his normal start.
Joe?
Paul Blackburn mentioned earlier that he was going to be going to Syracuse. Is there a set number in your mind? How many innings, how many ups you're looking
He's well, I don't know about Syracuse. I think
Sorry, Brooklyn. Sorry.
yes. Okay, so and they are in Aberdeen. I think they're on the road on Saturday. It's 2 ups that he's getting on Saturday.
In the middle?
Carlos, was there anything that went into Marte over Winker at the DH spot today against the righty?
Yeah, I mean, you look at the numbers, pitch usage. This is a guy that cutter. He's the pitch for him, and you know, he's been the pitch that he's as of late. He's giving a little bit of trouble to Winker, so I'm taking my chance with the righty.
And then with the Vientos, he has said that he feels like he's in a good spot with his swing. Just the homer hasn't come yet. Do you feel like he's close with that? And then when that first homer comes, do you feel like it could start just like a sort of a trickle-down effect with more of those?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say that he's trying to hit homers. His job is to go out there and control the strike zone and hit the ball hard, and he's done that. You know, when you look at, he's just not getting results, but consistently hitting balls over 100, controlling the strike zone. When they come, they're going to come in bunches. So I'm not worried about it. I just want him to continue to play, continue to believe in himself, continue to have fun. He's a really good player, and he showed it last year, and he'll get there.
Andrew?
Francisco announced yesterday that he was going to be the captain for Puerto Rico. I'm just wondering on your thoughts on that and just the event as a whole, having been a part of it, and now being the manager of a team who had a player that went down in the WBC.
Yeah, look, that's an honor, you know, and proud of him, and you know, obviously very happy, very well deserved, you know, that he gets to represent his country, and now he's the captain of the team. Being in this tournament, representing Venezuela, the last one, this is something that you will never forget. You know, next experience that you're playing for your country is a different feeling. Yeah, I mean, you got the best players playing, but just as they can get injured, you know, in the WBC, they can get injured in spring training games. So, but you know, that's something that you would never take away from players. And you guys watch, you know, on TV. It's electric, and it means a lot when you're playing for your country.
Abby?
Have you guys thought about where you might use Blackburn when he's healthy, whether it's out of the bullpen or in the rotation?
we're too early to, we're still a few weeks away before we have to make that decision. Right now, we're just going to prepare him. We're going to build him up, hopefully to 75 pitches, and then we'll have the decision whether he goes in the rotation. Like, who knows what's going to happen between now and then. But so right now, that's the goal, 75, 70, 75, and then we'll go from there.
Very good. Thank you very much, Carlos. At this time, we'd like to invite up Mets Hall of Famer Darryl Strawberry. Who will talk about tonight's Black Legacy game.
No questions about it. I'm not playing today.
In addition, Darryl's got a book coming out next year,
Got a bad shoulder.
coinciding with the 40th anniversary of the '86 championship, called Another Life.
Oh, yeah. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. I don't know why they want me to write books, but I guess I'll just keep writing them.
So we'll start if anyone has any questions.
Any questions?
What's your involvement with the game?
With the game?
Yeah, I know you're not playing, but
No. Of course I'm not playing. Just a visitor to come to say hello, and kind of represent what the night is all about the game and everything. So, very simple.
Tony?
I guess what is the night all about in your words?
Well, I guess it's about the history, of the legacy of players. I mean, I knew they had Jackie Robinson was yesterday, I believe. I mean, I don't keep up, but I saw players wearing number 42 once I realized today and how special, it is for a player of color to play Major League Baseball. I think the average player of color don't even know why they play. And when you look at Jackie Robinson and you look at some of the other greats like Frank Robinson, Hank Aaron, and you look at Willie Mays, you look at all these guys that played through the most difficult times, and they set the standard of real character and playing the game the right way. I think when you put on a uniform and you're a player of any color, you need to know the players that came through. Roberto Clemente, you need to know the guys that really came through and had to deal with more than we could ever imagine, playing this game of baseball. So when you think about nights like tonight, and I think about myself, playing, being African American and growing up in California and playing here in the big leagues in New York and surviving. What a place to be able to survive. Most people can't come here and survive, and I was, I was young and I was able to do that, and I enjoyed it. I enjoyed playing in a place like this. I love the passion, of fans and everything, and sometimes you take a lot of heat, but it's good because it makes you better. And I think that was really important for me. It made me better to be able to take and deal with some of the things I had to go through. Yes, Howie.
I'm waiting for a microphone. I don't work with Darryl, when you were coming up through the Mets system, and there were some older former players around, like Al Jackson and Ed Charles, were there any stories that you heard from any of those or other players who played in the early days after integration that might have just kind of knocked you out when you heard about something specific that they went through that maybe we don't know or didn't hear all that much about?
Yeah, I think Al Jackson, he was a pitching coach in the organization, and what a wonderful man. He would tell you to enjoy every moment of it that you have, because of all that they had to endure, more than I probably could ever imagine. Some players like that, I can imagine what, Cleon Jones had to go through, being a, African American player and had to endure. We didn't have to endure like those guys did. We didn't have to endure like Frank Robinson and Jackie and Hank Aaron. You imagine the story of Hank Aaron, saying when he was going for the home run, and what he had to go through, and the death threats, and we didn't have to go through that as players, So, when I spent time with Al Jackson, he would talk about them. He would say things that you could just only imagine of thinking to yourself, if you had to play in those times, what it would be like. You wouldn't be that kind of pressure on your expectation and the criticism that most of them had to go through, being the time of them playing. You can't never imagine it. You could just hear the stories about it, but you couldn't. Me personally, I couldn't. I can only imagine, but I couldn't really be in their situation and having to face that. I faced some real criticism when I played, of course, in Lynchburg, Virginia. I was called out of my name, boy, and this, you're not that good. And I was like 19 years old, and my manager, Gene Dusan, used to tell me, just don't look up there, and I was struggling that year, and I came close to quitting baseball, but he helped me get through that season because I think he figured if I'd have looked up there, up in the crowd where they were saying, calling me a boy and the N-word, I probably would have took my Louisville Slugger and went up there and eliminated somebody, But Gene Dusan kept me together. I am grateful for that. He kept me through that process about not looking up there and telling me how ignorant they were and everything. And he was white. He was a white manager. And he made it clear to me to just don't get involved. And I didn't. I'm very thankful to the fact that, I did have him as a manager to help me through that process, because I didn't understand that process because I come from California, so we didn't have that kind of battle playing baseball together. We were all black players playing against other black players, so we never had that animosity or what is being said. But that was very challenging for me when I experienced that, and I got a taste of it, and I realized from there what it was really like.
And Gene was a coach with the club when you came up for your rookie year. What did he have an impact on you at the big league level at all that first year?
Chuck Hiller did. Chuck Hiller was a coach that I went through when I went through Kingsport, Tennessee. He kind of just embraced me. He knew what it was all about. You're in the middle of nowhere, and a lot of things are going to be said. And there were a lot of things being said at that time when I was coming through. So Chuck Hiller was he was the first coach that I encountered with as a father figure. And then it was Gene Dusan. He was more of like the real father figure for me from 1982 and 1981 and 82, Jackson, because he was my manager in Jackson. And had it not been for him putting a big brother to the side for me as I was going through this process, there's no telling what might have happened, because he kind of like put a big brother was Lloyd McClendon, who was more of like a big brother who was a little older to help me, kind of walk through a lot of things, because a lot of things were being said because of, the actual color of my skin, to play baseball. And I never, thought that I would ever hear things said like I heard in Lynchburg, but I did. And I thought to myself, man, this is not what I signed up for. I could have went to Oklahoma State. I could have played basketball and baseball in college, but it worked out well, and I worked through it and I got a clear understanding of it and everything through that process with that year. So it made me a better person, I could tell you that.
Laura?
I think only about 6% of baseball players right now are black, and there are very few that are in front office positions or managerial positions. Do you think there's anything baseball can do to encourage more young black men to get into the sport, or what barriers do you think are available?
Well, I think they don't have enough. I put it more like playing fields for young kids in inner cities. They have academies everywhere else, but they don't have the attraction for what inner cities are all about. Because I grew up in the inner city, and that's where we played. Me and Eric Davis, Chris Brown, all of us come from the inner city. Inner city baseball was organized, and they had teams, and development of African-American players were all over the place, all over the field at that time. They don't have that anymore. Those parks are closed down. Those parks are soccer fields. They're not baseball fields anymore. So it's been a change of what the inner city of baseball is like. And I think the younger African-American kids kind of reject baseball because they don't market it like they do basketball. Basketball markets their players. They market their jerseys, they market their tennis shoes, and that's what kids get attracted to. I mean, of course, my son Jordan's with me. I mean, he grew up playing basketball. He was a good baseball player. I wish he'd have picked up the bat and kept going. But the marketing of basketball was so attractive, you know, and it just draws players to that. So you have to make the game attractive to really draw players to it. When you look at baseball, baseball is more. It has a great balance with the Latino players because of the academies and all that they do in the country to develop them, and that's kind of what you have to do for inner city kids if you really want them to play baseball. Because if not, they're gonna pick up a basketball and football, and they're gonna go the other way.
Abby?
Hi, good afternoon, Darryl. Joel, Latino
All right.
Sports. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great, thank you.
Awesome. What does Black legacy in baseball mean to you? Not just on a level where you are as an athlete, but as a man, as a father, as a role model. What does it mean to you?
Well, it means everything, you know, as far as being, you know, a black player and being able to achieve and be successful at the major league level and experience life. I think that was the most important thing, more than my baseball career. I got to experience life in such a different way in a higher level, and to be able to walk away from the game and go away and be able to grow and not quit. I learned through baseball. It taught me through baseball, you don't give up, you don't quit. It's easy to give up, it's easy to quit because of what's being said and what's in front of you, and it's how you deal with it. And in life, you know, it's just in life from where a lot of us come from. We come from a place where most people don't know. We don't have a lot of father figures. So all the coaches that you endure throughout your life of playing sports mostly become father figures for you, and that's what this game gives to you. That's what it gave to me. It gave me great coaches who were like fathers, you know, from managers, Jim Fry, Davey Johnson, you know, guys that I played under, Joe Torre. All of them have played a great role in my life to make me the man I am today. You know, when I think about it, Bill Robinson, you know, when I look at all these people, Bobby Valentine, Buddy, I mean, all these people had a great impact on me. And it was a very positive impact because they were all positive people that played a part of my life. And I think that's why, you know, I sit here today with so many memories of them, because I know what they gave to me. They gave to me more than just being a baseball player and running out on the field. You know, they gave the manhood to what it's like to be a man, you know, and I got that from each one of them in my time of playing baseball. So it gives you more than you can ever imagine. It's not just what the game gives you and what, you know, the fans give you, but it's the people that you are connected to is what they give you. Turns out to be more special than you can ever imagine. You don't know that at the time, but after it's all over with and you've done with it and dealt with it, you realize how important that really was in your life. Where I stand today, I realize how important all these guys have played a part of what my life is today.
Abby?
Growing up in LA, what was Jackie Robinson's influence and what do you know about his legacy, and has it changed at all since then?
No, I mean, I think it's highly respected of Jackie Robinson and setting the table. I don't know if the players really know, especially the players of color, really know that. I don't know if they recognize, you know, they recognize who he is, but do they really know what all he had to endure? He endured everything. He took everything, all the burdens for all of us to be able to put on a uniform. And, you know, that's such a different standard, you know, for someone that has had to do that. He did it for all of us. And when you recognize that, then you might recognize who you are as a player and as a person. You know, because Jackie wasn't just a player. Jackie was a man of true character. You know, when you read about him and you learn about him, you learn that his character was probably just as great as his game as a player. And that says a lot when you have to endure so much and have to take so much criticism and hatred towards you, but still keep the same character. So that right there tells you how special, you know, of a person that he is, you know, and was at the time. You know, I say he is because his legacy is living on. It's a great legacy for what he stood for and how he stood up for it, others.
I don't know if you followed the controversy at all with the government taking his bio down and then putting it back up. Have you followed it, and just what are your thoughts on that?
No, I haven't. I haven't, and shame on them if they do that. You know, shame on them because of a person that had to fight so hard. You know, and wasn't just fighting for himself. He was fighting for any player of color that puts on a uniform. You know, from black players to Latin players. I mean, no one puts on a uniform of color if it had not been for him, and the door was open for him to do that. So it would be a shame if they, you know, can't keep that right, keep it the way it should be, because it represents something more than just you can probably ever imagine. You know, and you know, the average person probably couldn't have done what he had done at that particular time. I know I couldn't. If anybody said they could, they're telling your story because they wasn't put in that position to do it. So it's only when you put in that position, and he was, and he did it.
Very good. Darryl, thank you very much for your poignant comments.
All right, thank you. Thank you, guys.